Coming to you from the city of the weird. Exploring topics from the esoteric and unexplored to dimensions unknown. Shining a light of truth on the darkest corners of our reality. Welcome to the Curious Realm.
Well, hello everybody, and happy Tuesday night. Hope everybody is doing well. The world is going crazy out there. I saw reports about the UK saying if there are bank issues, it's going to be because of UFOs. Watch out. UFOs are going to mess up our banking. The world has gone flippy-flop madness, everybody. It's absolutely wild. And to prove that fact, so many times back in the day before I set myself on fire and we became Curious Realm, we were once Dudes and Beer. Sitting right over my shoulder behind me is our News and Politics Award from Dudes and Beer. From our coverage from things like George Floyd and having Anonymous on talking about the hacking of the Minneapolis Police Department, things like that. And the fact that we have another hashtag Dudes and Beer called it moment so far into the future. Many, many years ago, when Havana Syndrome first happened, Dr. Johl and I said that the source of this is likely not an acoustic weapon, that it's a sonic weapon. All of a week ago, it came out that there were sonic weapons used in the invasion in Venezuela, that people were bleeding from the eyes, people were vomiting blood, bleeding from orifices, hearing extreme signals, things like that. And these are some of the things that we've talked about with electromagnetic weaponry, that kind of stuff. So tonight, in the second part, I am very, very happy to present our first panel on such things with Dr. Johl and our good friend Mike Turber from 5x5 News. We will be talking about the possibility of the weapons platforms used in Venezuela, what the effects of those would be. Have they been used previously? Protesters, demonstrators in Serbia. So many more news articles, things like that. And then I'm very happy to present in our first section, we will be joined by CJ Arabia. She is from Southern California MUFON. She is the lead field investigator over there. And we've come up with this concept called open source, where basically we're basically Chris has not been able to reset his rig, everybody. He's been on the road, all kinds of things. Give me just 1 second here to bring up the proper thing. And but this segment called Open Source is going to be super fun. This gives us the chance to see what MUFON field investigators and investigators see behind the scenes. We will get to see what some of the things are that are submitted to them, all kinds of stuff. So, hey, there she is. Hot diggity.
Hi.
Hi. Here we go. There
Am
you
I there?
There
Am
you
I
are.
there?
You're
There
here
I am.
now.
There I am.
Hey,
Hi.
CJ.
I can't tell if you can tell I'm laughing while you're talking or like I was really admiring the booty on your Bigfoot during your
thank you.
opening sequence.
Yeah.
Like he's got a very supple, rounded. Like,
Jason McLean is very anatomically correct with her, and she, mind you, because she has the front end to match.
A she-foot. Okay.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
she's a
That's right. Because the one from the Bluff Creek footage is a female. Through modern analysis, whenever you look at that and everything, as you slow it down frame by frame, you can actually see the form of breasts on the front of the creature. It's pretty fascinating.
Well, I always tell people you'll get into UFOs and literally all roads end up leading you to go, oh shit, Bigfoot's real? Wait, stop. That's not what I was here for.
Yeah. No, exactly. And you know,
am I allowed to curse?
That's
Sorry.
okay. There are a couple curse words in the show tonight from footage. But let's go through the concept of this, because I don't want anybody to think that, we're giving away stuff that MUFON is still actively investigating, things like that. So let's get into the concept of this episode and why we are bringing this forth to the public in this kind of way, CJ.
Oh, great. These cases have all been closed, but I feel like it's so important for people to see the different kinds of footage we get, because people see stuff, and I always say, like, oh, I would have reported that too. And, like, that is very bizarre. But I think it's really good to educate yourself on all the different things out there that can be explained. And I'm trying to think if I have I think I have an IFO also a UFO actually mixed in here, I think, toward the end, and we'll get to the UFO.
Okay.
And they're not all explained, but the cases are closed, and some of them might be a UFO and some might be an IFO, but meaning identified flying object, for anyone who doesn't know. But there's weird stuff in our skies, and it's not all UFOs, and it might feel like a UFO. Sometimes people will say, I felt so weird, I felt drawn to go outside and to look up at the sky, and then you go, oh, it's a satellite. Like, I don't, and it's more just educational, because even when you start as a MUFON field investigator, and we always need field investigators. So if you want to be one, be one. Reach out. I'll give you my email in a minute. But you don't know till you know. You don't until you've seen something. You don't know. And there's so many amazing things in the skies above Southern California and all around the country. Like, I'm on the CAG team at MUFON, which is the Case Assistance Group, and that means I get to help in states where they may not have enough field investigators or may not have any. So I get to see stuff like Chinese lanterns, which are illegal here. So I would never get a Chinese lantern case, because we can't do that because of the fires here. We're not allowed to do that, So until I had seen Chinese lanterns, I wouldn't have known what they look like. You're just not going to know till you see it. So I just thought it would be super fun to just bring a variety of videos, and I think we have one photograph, and just show your posse, your crew, who are always so nice. Like, I love your audience. They're like the nicest people.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, just some of the stuff that we get submitted to us, and I don't know, it might help them identify something that's in the sky. But report it to MUFON. If you don't know what it is, let us know, and a human will research it. I don't think any of the other places can say that, like Enigma and stuff like that. I even reported a case to Enigma to find out what's going on over there. Never heard back, and I have a pretty good case. I got a UFO case, out of Gino, our state director. And he is very picky about that. He has very few UFOs, and that's how I ended up coming here. So no one ever reached out, and that's the truth. Is, like, you can report him to all the different agencies that are out there, but if you report it to MUFON, a human being is going to reach out to you in an email, a text, a phone call. We're going to try to reach you and talk to you about it.
Well, and you bring up two very important things that we bring up regularly on the show. Hi, Gino. How you doing, buddy?
Hi, Gino.
But what you just mentioned about Gino and the idea that, we say on the show regularly, I would say 95% of what is in our sky is explainable. There is a 5 to 6% anomaly, something like that is maybe some kind of extreme craft that we are working on that is still ours, but there's a good 3 to 5% that is fully unexplainable, that we don't know what it is. It is, by all definitions, a classical UFO. It is unidentified, it's flying through the air, and it is an actual object of some sort. So,
exactly.
Now, that doesn't mean don't submit, everybody, just because what you see or what you've recorded may be explainable. Now, because the more we know about what's up there and the more we can explain on a regular basis what's up there, then the greater the realm of known quantitative for science, which only further narrows the anomaly.
True. And you're also training our field investigators. That's the thing, is we're always getting new field investigators, and they have to see a Starlink. You know what I mean? They need to see a drone. They need to see these, because before I started taking cases, I hadn't seen all these. I didn't know what all these things looked like. So even if you're like, I think it's something, just report it to MUFON. We'll decide. We'll either shoot you an email quickly saying, hey, I just looked this up as a SpaceX launch, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But like, if you're not sure, just report it. And there's things you can use. You know, there's Flight Radar 24. If you want to see if it's a helicopter or an airplane, you can add that to your phone and you switch. I think it's called AR, which is you
Yeah.
aim it at the sky and you can just point it right at the lights. And if it's an airplane or a helicopter that is transponding, it's going to tell you, like, this is Southwest flight, blah, 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 going to Denver, and there's 150 people on it. And then you know, we use things like Stellarium too, which will show
Yeah.
us satellites and, you know, planets and things like that.
And granted, there's a caveat there too, because not all planes will have that transponder. A lot of
They are not
international
transponder.
flights won't have that transponder. Most military planes won't have that transponder.
And they'll
Things
turn
like
it
that.
off. You'll see military planes go off
Yep.
and then come back on later in another part of the sky.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, why are they doing that?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
what's going on there?
There's that,
So-
and also the fact of you're not going to see like CIA satellite fly,
Yeah,
flying
exactly.
by. You know, you won't see those satellites on the satellite tracker for
Right.
Stellarium. So there are those things, but you know, the important thing is, and you brought this up a second ago, another thing that we stand firmly by. As soon as you have seen something, as soon as you have questioned what you have seen, the science has begun.
Yeah.
You are now
Yeah.
a citizen scientist. Like, you observed something, you had a question. Now you have to gather data and start experimenting with hypotheses, things like that.
Yep.
So, and that's where we're at with this. See, is this is that repetitive part of science, folks, where what they are about to present has already been presented to other people, has already gone through these rungs. But we are more confirmatory information even to these cases if we can be like, oh yeah, that's totally explainable, you know. So the fact that it's even coming to eyes on us as an audience, as a group of individuals, is really cool, because now we get to help confirm some of that, or even go, you know, I don't know, you may want to look at it in this kind of way, you know.
Exactly.
So
Yep.
let's
Am I
take a
frozen? No, you can see me.
That's all right. That's all right. Let's take a look at your first video that you provided here for us. Tell us a little bit about this
Okay.
case. I'm gonna have it on screen and freeze frame it there. Tell us a little bit about this case
Okay.
before we start up.
Okay. This is case number 143357. It was taken on June 25th. July 25th, 25 in Anchorage, Alaska. So the first two cases I'm bringing are actually from Anchorage, Alaska, or from Alaska, and they have a new state director. I don't think they even had one before, and her name is Shay. She's super awesome. They have a Facebook group. And they're doing meetings the second Sunday of every month in the afternoon, and they're free. And there's a lot of freaky stuff up in Alaska. And so I just reached out to Shay, told her I was coming on your show, and I said, give me a couple of clips so that I can share them and also give you guys a plug and a shout out. They're on Facebook. They're it's like Alaska MUFON Northern Lights. And maybe when we're done, I'll log into YouTube and like drop links into your into the chat so that people can see
Sure.
them. But the first one's from Anchorage, and let's just watch it for a second.
All right, let's check it out. And I've got the audio up there.
Yeah. There's some cursing in other videos, so watch the audio.
Absolutely.
Okay. I mean, you can see why someone started filming this. They're like, what the hell is that?
Well, now the first thing I'm going to bring up, though, is that there is a reflection next to each one of these streetlights.
Yes.
So they are obviously filming it from inside of a window.
Yes.
So the fact that it may be somebody in the background.
And you can see the frame just kind of got in it. You can see the frame in
yeah,
parts
yeah.
of the video.
And
the
you
window.
can see the roof. Yeah, I mean, they're probably like in a Days Inn or something like that, actually.
Yeah, it does. It looks like a business district.
It totally looks like the rooftop
and
of
if
so
you-
many
if you see
motels that I've
something,
stayed
if
in
you
for
can-
gigs.
Right, exactly. If you can get outside or you can open the window in some way and film it without the window,
Yeah.
the windows really muddy the water for us. It makes it a little more difficult. Sometimes you're just like, I can't tell you what
and
that is. This
you know,
is so muddy.
It's funny though, because if you notice right there in the trees, I just saw some glinting right there in front of in front of the fitness place if you watch in the lower left-hand side.
Yeah.
And I watched this 2 or 3 times. I had privy to these earlier today, folks. That's how they're in my system, okay?
Yes,
I know I had
to
those in and I didn't have her graphics up. However,
that's okay.
I watched these and reviewed them, and I didn't even notice at first glance the reflection until it was on pause on my bigger screen. Did you just see the glint over there in the tree on the left? Right there.
Yeah.
So you can see where something is reflecting from the inside. And that's what I'm calling. Is it somebody on their phone pacing around in the background? Something along those lines.
I mean, you got to wonder, sometimes it's it's the lights behind them. Sometimes it's the ceiling lights those set-in ceiling lights can really look like a UFO outside a window.
Hey, it was enough to fool Lou Elizondo.
Right? Of
like
course,
literally.
Yeah. No, I mean, some very respectable people
absolutely
who take this very seriously, can really be fooled. You got to really take into account, like, I honestly, like, when someone sends me a clip and they're like, I was on a cruise ship, I start searching for photos of the interior of the cruise ship to see what the lighting looks like.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, what did those lights look like? Are they especially when they're in a window, there's if it's hard.
And especially the fact of, and not a lot of people know this, there are 2 very unique things about hotels, cruise ships, event spaces. Number 1, you will never see that carpet repeated. Ever. Ever. You walk into a Hilton, you can walk into a Hilton in Detroit and a Hilton in Chicago. They have totally different carpet. They also have totally different wall sconces. Mm-hmm. So those things are unique. Now, granted, you're in a Days Inn or something like that. That's a little bit different. They may buy all of their stuff in bulk. But if you're staying in a decent hotel, things like that, somewhere with like a really nice welcome area, all that glass work, everything else is unique to that location. Especially if you're on a resort, a cruise ship, things like that. If you're in a casino,
a train out the window of a train.
Yeah, all those chandeliers, things like that, are all custom made for the location. So being able to go through and look at pictures of ballrooms from Detroit whenever you have a sighting come in from a building in Detroit, things like that. So
I know it's. We're doing the best we can.
Well, but that's just it. Even with my eye, and even with what I do for a living, CJ, with repairing footage and recovering footage, all kinds of things like that I've done for years and years, I did not immediately spot those reflections. This is the 3rd time that image has crossed my eyes, and it's the first time, and I think it was mainly because it was on pause. And on a much larger screen. I was viewing them on my phone before.
You've got big screens, man. And
but this is a tiny little 13-inch screen over here.
Well, right now you are, but you have some big screens in your office. And I do. Full disclosure, I do sometimes. You
have screen envy?
You're a helper. I have screen envy for sure. But I do reach out to you because I don't have that big screen. Yeah. And sometimes I will take, when I'm working on a case, and I will send it to a few people that I respect and that I know are educated on the topic and have bigger screens than me. And that's just the truth. Like, MUFON doesn't buy me a computer. I got to use what I got.
You got to buy your own bumper sticker, man.
I got to buy my own MUFON hats and stuff.
That's right.
This was a Christmas present from my husband, so I got to wear it. It's so cute. That. Yeah.
Well, so that was really cool coming in from Alaska. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And they didn't know what it was. They assumed it was a drone, and then they got somebody, just like, we had to get someone to enhance it. And then you could see the red and green lights flicker. And that's kind of what we're always looking for, is can we find the red and green flicker somewhere in there?
So there was a red and green flicker in there.
There was. So what they did is they sent it to one of our video enhancers. And sometimes they're just friends of ours that do, our editors and stuff. And sometimes they're the official MUFON. But, and when they enhance the video, they got flickers of green and red, and then they know that's a drone of some sort. That's a drone. It's a drone.
You can see the alternating light now that you've actively set it. I can see
Yeah,
that.
when you say it out loud, then you can start
Yeah.
when you're looking at it to see the flickers of green and red. And that's what we're always looking for. Like you helped me last time I was here. Like my computer, I could not see
Yeah.
the green and red. And you were like, oh, it's a mothership dropping smaller drones. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
See that? And you feel silly, but at the same time, you've got the equipment you got to work with what you got. It takes a team.
Yeah. Yeah, precisely.
Yeah, so that is a drone, and I can see why you would report it. I
Yeah.
would report it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Let's take a look at the next one real quick. Give us a little bit about this next
Okay.
one.
All right. So this is case 142771. June. Now I can say June 6/15/25 in the Kenai Peninsula. I cannot talk. I just have a cold and I'm tired. My head is a little foggy. Family sitting out on the stoop, and they start filming this.
And this is wild. And I'll bring up the audio. You can hear they're obviously up around a generator of some sort. I know that beautiful angelic hum.
Exactly. The whole family's that you can hear the kids.
Yeah. And this is interesting. This is really wild.
And I've gotten several of these down here too, so it's a good one. That's why I liked it when she sent me a few, and I was like, oh, I love this one because I've seen this down here too.
And notice
it's like
you
a jellyfish,
can see,
a squid.
Yeah, and those tentacles are actively undulating back and forth, like left and right. They're moving.
Yeah.
With everything.
It's in one position. It's not really moving across the sky, but it is moving where it is. And that, my friends, that object, that's a squid kite. That's a kite. And I've seen them near the beaches in San Diego. I've had them reported.
Okay.
And also, you can look at it's black, and this is the other thing. And I don't think I brought one today, but a solar balloon.
Oh yeah.
The black attracts the heat, and they rise, and they can be almost any shape. I mean, you could make a solar balloon that looks like a squid, and in the right weather, it could be soaring across the sky. Like when it's black, I start Googling solar balloons usually to see if I can find one that matches the shape. But this is a kite, and we've seen it a few times.
Wow. And that's really wild. I could see how somebody would immediately
makes no sound.
Yeah. And
right.
it what's funny is it reminds me kind of and granted the sighting that me and my friend Billy had on New Year's Eve was had to have been 1:30 in the morning, 2 in the morning. So nobody would, I don't know, maybe somebody was out with a kite at 1:30 or 2 in the morning, but there wasn't a whole lot of place to stand in West Houston with that kite unless you were like out in the middle of the Mack hike dealership, flying a kite.
I mean, who's flying a kite at night? I don't even know. You can't even see your kite. You got to be tweaking to be flying a kite at night.
Well, and this is interesting though, the fact that, like you said, you get quite a few like this because you're out near the beach, things like that. So yeah, people are out flying kites, doing stuff like that all the time. And this is one that
on the coast.
When you look at it, it's just really, really wild looking. It is
and we can zoom.
cool.
I don't know if people at home can zoom.
I was trying to zoom in earlier, but it's tough because it's on video. And I don't have it in a program that is zoomable in that kind of way. I need to get one on this computer.
Okay. I lost you.
Oh,
sorry.
Oh no, that's all right.
I'm here.
That's all right. Internet happens.
It did, yeah. I know. That's never even happened to me before, so I'm sorry.
And for those of you curious, yes, we will be talking with Graham Phillips soon. Graham, if you're listening, hello from across the pond, my friend. So sorry you had the internet connectivity issues today, having internet worked on near your location. So we will get you on soon. In the meantime, let's talk about this third case that you sent.
The third case, yes. This is October 26th of 25 in Ventura. Simi Valley hosted. Oh, well, I won't get into that. Let's show it. Let's look at it first for a minute.
Okay.
Let's check it out. This is the. Oh, wait, sorry. Yes.
Here you go.
Yep. Yep.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah. Like it's just like going down like and
And that
it
that
just
is
took a
there
little
just for a
Googling.
second or two. Um,
Yeah, yeah. Very bizarre. It's
Slowly
very bizarre
descending.
looking,
It's got some flickering
Yeah.
going on with it. That kind of stuff. Let's
Yeah.
see what
Yeah.
the audio says. Not much on the
Yeah.
audio, but you can
Nah, you
tell
can
that
hear
they
some
are
wind.
actively outside, though, with the audio.
Yeah, they're outside. You can hear the breeze. You can see the breeze and hear the breeze. And basically, what we found out that there was the 11th annual Dia de los Muertos celebration um,
Okay.
at the park, a free cultural festival, and that means it is most likely a mylar balloon that's kind of
Yeah.
deflated. You can see it looks like not fully deflated.
Whoop. There she is.
Never had this happen before, and now I've disappeared twice, but it does say that my and I don't know if we're having solar. You know what? The
We
solar
are.
winds.
We
We
are
are.
having
And that
massive
is
solar
always an
issues.
issue with the internet and with the internet. You're right. You're right. Because
Absolutely.
that's so the reason you guys can see the northern lights in so much of the country right now is also what's booting me
That's
out
right.
of the room right
What
now.
is having issues with the
I've
Wi-Fi?
literally never been booted out before.
That's all
So
right.
anyway, a little research helped show us that that was the ninth annual, or no, sorry, that's the next one, the Dia de los Muertos. And then you just got to go. That's got to be a
Yeah.
mylar balloon of some sort. So let's move on to number
Okay.
4, which was a case I got through CAG. So it was really interesting for me. And let's check it out.
All right. Let me bring that up here.
And
There
it's
we
case
go.
number 144579, taken on
Oh,
October
yeah.
11th of 25 in Ohio.
Whoa.
Right? Can you guys see
They
those
are like
lights?
orbs.
They're like orbs, and they're moving
Yeah.
independently, and yet they're together in a cluster.
That's weird.
So weird,
See,
right?
I was brother, I was telling you. What the fuck?
Oh, yeah. Okay, good. Sorry, I was going to beep it for you by yelling.
But yeah, when you see that, and I don't know, I would go birds on this. Just by the way some of them independently move in that beginning there. You can
and that
see a
can
couple of
reflect
them
the
coming
light.
down.
Yeah.
And honestly, I'd almost be more interested in that space trash coming in up there at the top.
Yeah.
You know,
Could
'Cause
be
you
all
can-
those things.
You can see that right there. That
Yeah.
like, I don't know, looks much more like it's moving space trash to me because it's moving before he moves the frame. You know.
Yeah.
So maybe it's something remnant from that. Maybe.
Could be, but what we kind of
But I'd
thought
say birds.
was October 11th of 2025 was the 9th annual Ohio Moon Festival. It's an Asian festival in the Columbus, Ohio area. And it was, let's see, so the Asian festival took place in Dublin, which was just north of where the witnesses were. And then when we analyzed the wind would have blown.
The wind would have blown. CJ. This is it's painful. But I will say, we've had some great tune-ins from people. We've had a couple folks who have been chiming in over here on the old chat and stuff like that. Susan, thank you so much, especially with the Mylar balloons and the birds. I've said birds as well. So CJ, are you back with us?
I am.
There
I'm
she
back.
is.
Yeah. Sorry.
All right.
It just kind of reloads on its own. That time it took longer. And I did send you my notes. So if you look in that folder, if I do.
Oh yeah, that's right.
You can literally go through if you lose me,
Yeah.
which I hope you don't, my notes are in there for you just in case something like this happened. So if you look there, so we calculated the wind, and that would have put the Chinese lanterns moving the wind was moving 10 miles per hour from the north, and that would have put it over our witnesses at the time that they were reporting these. So these were most likely lanterns from the Dublin, Ohio Moon Festival. And then if you want to go to number 5, and you know, I don't know, it's like weird to be embarrassed over your internet going out. And you just can't control it, but I'm like kind of embarrassed.
If anything happens and you come back, just mute your video.
Okay.
Because that will let our audio keep going through, and it will lower the amount of bandwidth coming in from you.
Great. Then that's what I'll do.
That's
if
our
this happens
backup
again,
plan.
maybe I'll turn my video. If I turn it off, right? Do I have a picture of me? You
Yes.
can still see me.
Yes, you do.
So I could do that. If I see the symbol again, I'll do that.
Absolutely. Okay. Let's hear a little bit about this case here.
Okay. Number 5, right? We're going on to 5. Okay, so that's 141431. That's November 28th of 24, Palm Springs. And
doing some crazy shit.
you can see it's much brighter than anything in the sky.
Yeah.
It seems to be pulsating.
Did not show up on the star map. It's a star.
He says it's not showing up on his star map.
Moved.
Or he's moved a little bit.
They feel like it's moving, and I get that a lot with you know, Sirius, the dog star. This is not Sirius, but Sirius can really look like it's bopping around.
It can.
You know, like it's dancing around in the sky. But what did happen in November of 2024 on the 28th is you would have had a chance to see a lining up of planets.
Yes.
This would have been Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn lining up.
Yeah.
And being, you know, very visible. And as you can see, it was much brighter than everything else. So
yeah, and that is it's a pretty rare string of pearls whenever it happens like that. Whenever you get to see them in perihelion is what that is, where they're all directly lined up with you.
Exactly.
Or opposition, rather. Opposition.
Yeah.
Perihelion is where the rings face you and you don't see them anymore.
But thanks. Yeah, I was like, oh,
well, it's fascinating though, because like the video I normally show is the one that I recorded here in my backyard, which is a image of Sirius that is out of focus whenever you look at it. So there it is right there.
Well, and you know, exactly. And that's what I was going to say is so many people zoom their cell phones in on a tiny light, and they don't know how to distort it. And like a distorted light can look really crazy, really bizarre.
Oh, absolutely.
And do all sorts of bizarre things. And the more you zoom in, it actually makes it harder for us to determine what's going on. If you just film it from, you know, because we can zoom in, we can get software, we can get people to look at it and zoom out. And but when you zoom in, I mean, look at that. Look at that. That's amazing.
It's pretty wild. And like the whole black circle in the middle, that was actually taken with my big 8-inch telescope. So that's actively the mirror of the telescope. That is the black spot in the middle. But yeah, and that's something that I get into in my examining evidence of the paranormal presentation that I do, is the whole idea of interpolation. And the fact of once you, especially on any digital, it's a little bit different in analog on actual film, but any digital with a chip, with a CCD that's picking up light, things like that. As you zoom in, interpolation begins to happen. The AI in the camera begins to assume the data around the image. But in addition to that, noise starts getting added. So it's hard to subtract that noise without altering the image later through sharpening, that kind of stuff, you know, because you can even be adding stuff to it at that point. So the idea of taking your video the same way this gentleman did. He did a I think a fantastic, and what I would say is a very, very textbook job of the way that you should film something. If you see something in the sky, folks, I'm going to bring it back up on screen real quick. This is exactly how you want to film it.
Yep.
As zoomed out as your camera can get.
Yeah.
And I know you
Let
want to
us
try
zoom
to
in.
get detail, and it's counterintuitive. But
Yeah. Because once you zoom in, that everything looks like you.
well,
Like, honestly, I
it's-
could walk around filming anything with my camera zoomed in. It's going to look bizarre.
well, and not just that. It's also the fact of you get forced perspective in that kind of way.
Yeah.
And what that means is that your brain is now assuming something.
Yeah.
One of my favorite movies is The Aviator, and it was literally on live today. I was watching it as I was examining some of these things. And one of my favorite scenes is where he's filming Hell's Angels, and he's watching all the footage of these biplane fights, and he's like, it's not like it was when we were up there and we were fighting. Like, and then it dawns on him, there's no clouds. There's no depth. There's no frame of reference to show you the actual speed of the plane going by. On a blank field, you don't have a frame of reference for the distance and the size of something and the speed at which it passes.
Yeah.
So whenever you're zoomed out, you can catch things like the size of a tree, a 6-foot tool shed in the backyard.
Yeah, the corner of the roof. Anything.
Things that are a known quantitative, like a light pole. Every single wooden light post in America is like a standardized size. So, it may be stuck in the ground a little bit more, but that width of it is the exact same size all across America. So that's a pretty good just yardstick standard to be able to measure things by. So stuff like that, like the spacing of power lines in the air, that kind of stuff is huge to be able to trigonometry-wise figure out the size or distance of this object from you.
Yeah, I think it's the people's instinct is to zoom in. They want to zoom in, and really it's far more helpful to the investigation to just leave your camera where it is. Don't zoom in. Just give us the perspective of everything around it. Because we have we can zoom in. We can zoom in.
That's right.
We'll do it. And it'll look better zoomed in with the equipment that we have than it is from your cell phone.
Well,
no matter how great your cell phone is.
And it's fascinating because it's become kind of a trend, especially with moms and parents, things like that. Especially with basketball, that kind of stuff. Instead of trying to take a picture of your kid dribbling, it's going to be blurred. Take a 3-second video and then still frame it. Because the video is going to actually stop in mid-motion, and you can just take a picture of it and trim the edge of your phone out. Now you have a perfect picture of them. So you could do the exact same thing here, where if you want to see the detail, now you screenshot it and you can zoom in, and you aren't going to get as much interpolation in the image as you will, because the software is zooming now instead of something that is not an actual lens assembly, something that's not actually glass. Something that's not actually like it's already a digital assumption of what's in the sky to begin with. It's not like you're taking an actual picture of something.
Exactly. And I mean, I'm sure you've all heard this, but cell phones are designed for selfies in your food, like to take pictures of selfies in your food, things that are close to you. They're not, I don't care what model iPhone you've got, bro. I don't care. Like, it was not designed to take a picture of the moon or the stars. It's just not what it was designed for. It's for social media photos. It's not. So from a distance is just better. If anyone's wondering, in the future when you see something, just film it regular. Don't zoom in.
Yeah, absolutely. And here's a great example of that, which is our next case, which is the still image that you sent me.
I had to include it because we get so many of these. And these are, Earl used to say, Earl Grey Anderson, my beloved boss, who was passed on, he would always say, no one accidentally films a UFO. Like he always says, if somebody looks back at their stuff and they go, I saw a UFO in this photo, but I didn't see it in person, then you got to question what's going on. And I'm not saying that will never happen, but I'm just saying 9 times out of 10, if not more, if you're taking photos and then suddenly you accidentally go back and you go, whoa, what's that? Let's think about it. Let's figure out what that is. And that it's the shape of a UFO. It's like an oval. And I don't know, can you zoom in? Can you zoom in right there?
Yes,
really
on still pictures, I can zoom in.
Zoom on in. Right, guys? You see it now, right? You see the bee.
Yeah.
I mean, I assume it's a bee, not a fly. It looks more like a bee to me.
Well, I mean, you can see antennas.
antennas, but like from a distance. But this is great because they took it at a they weren't zoomed in at the time. They just snapped a photo,
Yep.
and they didn't see anything in the photo at the time. They were just kind of taking a picture of the weather, I think the clouds, and then they saw this like UFO in it. And if you zoom in, you're like, there's the wings, there's the and bugs and birds can flash across a photo, flash through a video
Absolutely.
really fast, and they can look very bizarre. There's videos you can go on YouTube
Oh,
and
absolutely.
hunt down.
Well,
But like there's our little friend there
Yeah.
pollinating the flowers.
well, and especially in night mode, that kind of thing, a lot of people don't understand frame rate and the way that frame rate works on a camera, that kind of stuff. The fact that the same way your eye, believe it or not, is actually using a frame rate. Your eye is processing an image every 30th of a second to
Right.
attach all those things together and make motion happen.
Yeah.
Like your doorbell camera and things like that are doing the exact same thing. The issue comes in the beats of the insect wings and stuff like that, where it starts to look like undulations and that kind of stuff that are along the side of something that's now elongated because of the frame rate and the speed at which that's moving past.
Yeah.
The combination of the two makes it extend itself on video. So it's fascinating.
I want to say hi to Susan Alloway before we get to the next one. I
Absolutely.
see her on the YouTube, which I have open on my
And-
phone,
and-
commenting.
Same to Mike Turber and Randy Jordan, everybody.
Yes.
Welcome, everybody.
Hi, guys on YouTube. Susan's got a great MUFON case. She's pretty
Ooh.
amazing. So,
Ooh,
hi,
awesome.
Susan. Yeah, the Jackrabbit case. I don't know if you've heard about it. She is the Jackrabbit case. So,
Okay.
yeah, I'll send you that info later. You might want to talk to her.
Oh, definitely.
But let's get on. I think I sent you 2 videos, right, for number 7?
You
I
did.
think there's 2 videos, number 7, and you can show them. Your viewers are pretty savvy, so they might call this pretty quick. But someone from other parts of the country who don't see this kind of thing may not know what the heck this is,
Yeah.
right?
So
You're
tell
Uber
me
driver,
what
you
the fuck
pull
this
over,
is.
you're waiting for your next call, you're listening to some podcast, and you see this in the sky? Pretty wild, huh? You had never seen it before.
Somebody
Yeah.
tell me what the fuck that's supposed to be.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right. That's all right. We'll let it roll. Because that would mess with your brain if you saw it for the
Right.
first time.
Right.
And we'll get into it. You can kind of tell there a
Now
little
it's
bit.
gone.
So that's video 1. That's video
Yeah.
1.
And there's a third video, but there's so much cursing in the third, and it also just like I just didn't send you the third, but
So here is the second.
yeah.
Now this is a little more typical.
Yeah, this is what a lot of people have seen a lot on YouTube, even if you're not in
Yep.
the flight path of Vandenberg or
Yep.
Kennedy. You've probably seen one of these on, and this is a SpaceX launch that we were pretty, and you can sign up, which I'll pop them into the comments later after we're done. But you can sign up. I get the text messages for the launches, which are good because you hear in advance and you can go outside. I can take
Yeah.
my son outside and watch him. We start at the computer watching it launch, and then it usually takes about 4 minutes, and then we run out front and it goes right across the sky here in Los Angeles. And like the first time I saw one, I thought we were being nuked. I literally
Yeah.
was,
Yeah.
I was home alone. I called my neighbors. I was like, what is this? Like it filled the sky. And I just thought we were about to die. Like I really, for a minute, I was like, I don't know what this is. Like I just didn't know. I was like, we could all be about to die. I don't know.
I literally had a friend of mine tag Curious Realm the other night, 2 nights ago. Here is the video. Shannon Ray Caffey. Love you, buddy.
Oh, there you go.
There's a
bro.
great
Oh,
video of it, too. I was like,
great
that is
video.
beautifully done, dude.
Great
job.
video.
Great job.
And this
If you're
could
going to
look
zoom in, ladies and gentlemen, that's how you zoom in.
I mean, that's amazing. Look at that. Wow.
And yeah,
Wow.
if you don't know what that is, if you are not schooled in the way that the ionic field coming off of those things looks as boosters separate, things like that. It is as alien as you can get, man. As alien as you can get.
I mean, it's amazing. I realize every time I show my hand, it raises my hand. It's like I'm trying to speak in a meeting. Okay. So there we go. We know what that one is. Now we're on number 8, right?
Yes.
So it's case 140920, February 3rd, 25, the day after my birthday. I'm February 2nd. So
all right,
this is at
let's take a
7:05
look.
p.m. in Torrance, California.
Another one from outside. That's always nice.
That's so nice. Yes.
Thank you,
Oh, yeah.
witness.
Let me see. And you can see this. It's like the brightest thing in the sky,
Yeah.
and it ain't moving. That's always. I'm always like, what
Well,
is it? It's not moving.
Now, granted, I would almost say approach path on this, but
That's the other thing too. When something's coming straight at you, it may not look like it's moving.
yeah,
Like I saw a satellite train coming straight towards someone, and it was a bunch of lights that looked like they were moving straight up in the sky. It was the most. I should find that one for you too, because it looks so bizarre. But really, she was literally in front of it, and the satellite train was coming toward her, and it looked like it was moving straight up. This is just another planetary alignment.
okay,
And it looks a lot like Sirius is going to look like that. So
yeah,
yes, Mars, Jupiter, Venus, Neptune, Saturn will align at nightfall, just after nightfall. So 7:05, pretty close to nightfall. And then the rest of the night. Oh my God. Every time I raise my darn hand, it raises the hand. Okay. So I'm going to do one more, and then I have a few. Wait, let me see. Do I have 2 more?
There's a few more.
I
There's
guess I
a
can
few
do
more.
Okay, there are. I was worried. I wanted. There's the one I want to show you, and I can't show you.
yeah.
yet
I
'cause it's
know.
not
We have
closed.
3 more. We have 3 more.
Okay, so we're on number 9, which is case number 125794. And this video, I believe this is a Gino case. I just kind of snagged it from Gino's files. Uploaded to YouTube on October 12th to a channel, and also submitted by several people. So this is something several people saw. This was reported from multiple sources, 2 people on opposite sides of the valley, and I'm going to shut up and let you just watch this thing. I mean, it's pretty long too.
Wow. I am interested in that, what looks like almost like a lens flare underneath it.
That is a UFO.
Yeah, there's something underneath it. That light that it came, but it's
That it's
coming
passing
toward that
right now.
light, and now it's passing it.
Yeah.
It can't be the lens flare.
Yeah.
It looks like a lens flare,
Yeah.
but that's like a star.
Mm-hmm.
There's a
And-
glare.
I'm trying to tell. It kind of looks. Whoa, that's
I'm not.
that's
I
wild.
mean, right?
Okay. This kind of. I was just about to say. This looks like it's a night vision.
The video submitted was recorded by witness number 2 while on the phone with witness number 1. So both of these people reported. Witness number 2 is in Cathedral City during the sighting. Palm Desert. These cities are approximately 10 miles
a
apart.
UFO.
And a simultaneous sighting from 2 separate locations.
Man, it's right over there by the moon. You see it? Oh, that is a UFO. There's no. No, it's not. Not the way it's
That is
moving.
definitely not a satellite.
Mamacita.
Definitely not a satellite.
Definitely not. She's not seeing it though. She's in the kitchen. She's just like.
And granted, I haven't seen any flash
That
or
is
anything
wild.
like that for it to be a drone, but those
People
are
10 miles apart are seeing the same. He calls his friend and is like, "Go look up. Can you see this?" They're 10
Yeah.
miles apart, and they both start filming the same thing.
and I'm just playing that again, folks, so you can see it.
Yeah. I
but-
mean, this is a UFO. We could not find a source for this, and we could not find the red and green lights.
yeah,
when we zoomed in, we really don't know what it is. I mean, it doesn't mean it's, non-human created. It just means we could not with our equipment find the red and green lights that we're looking for. There were no satellite I mean, it's obviously not a satellite. It's not moving like one. I mean, I suppose it could be some kind of a drone that we're not familiar with. I mean, it could be. It's just, and also sometimes when I see these, I'm like, what would aliens be doing just bopping around the sky like this? Like, what are they doing if they're doing this? Like, what?
That is always the question that so many people bring up, is why would they be cruising around with their lights on?
Why would they be going up, down, sideways, back, forth? Like, what would the purpose serve? You would think if they're here doing some kind of scientific study.
And
like,
here's where the interesting movements start.
Yeah, right.
And see, you can kind of see some throbbing in the light there, stuff like that.
And like, there's clouds too. It looks like in the sky, so it could be getting dimmer and brighter based on being behind a cloud. Yeah.
Man. Yeah, I mean,
we sent it to the analysts. The analysts could not figure out what it was.
I wish we had video from the other angles.
I know. I don't have it. I
wish we had video from the other angles.
No.
I see a UFO.
And you can see the moon.
I would also like to know
a UFO.
Now, did it say what time the video was recorded? Anything like that?
Yeah, but I gotta go. And I don't know why I should have written it down.
That's okay. That's okay.
And I'm so slow; it would take me forever to look it up. I can Google it. I can send that
only reason I was gonna ask was because of the inclination of the moon. What is the inclination of the moon from the point of horizon?
Right.
So just so you could tell, like, how high up.
Sorry, so many of these recording. I wrote the time down, and on this one I just didn't, and I don't know why.
But it's fascinating, man, and
fascinating,
once again,
yeah.
Things like this where you get to see stuff like this. And I have people all the time at conferences come up to me and bringing me their cell phones. There was a gentleman not too long ago that came up that it was a good 45 minutes of footage taken on his ranch, things like that.
Wow.
And this is a fascinating one. This one is really interesting.
It's interesting.
Because once again, out of all of them that we have had, this is, and granted, this is a closed case. So what did y'all find out it was?
Yeah, we didn't.
It isn't closed.
It's closed. It's as closed as a UFO. Nobody could find out what it was. We sent it to the analysts. They did everything they could to try to find the red and green lights. It didn't match anything. Like, we just don't. And it doesn't mean it's not a drone. It doesn't mean it's not. But 10 miles apart, how are they going to see a drone 10 miles apart? That's crazy. That's a big distance. Like, so it's probably pretty big, and it's high up, for them to see it. So UFO doesn't mean, again, non-human entities.
That's right.
It just means we couldn't figure out what it was at the time, and we just haven't so we don't know. That one was a legit UFO. That's a Gino case, one of his few. And the next two, let's see. So number 10 is 143342, taken on August 6th of 25 in Costa Mesa.
Let's take a look at that.
Let's take a look.
More outside audio. Fantastic.
Yeah. Hearing the traffic. It's moving across the sky. Pretty big, though. Bigger than a normal satellite would be.
Yeah.
Pretty bright, even though he's kind of zoomed in, which I wish he wouldn't, but. And he's moving out, so you can see the other lights. You can get a little perspective of where it is in the sky. You can see the lights.
Yeah, I would.
Giving us a little perspective. And he's filming the launch, so we know he's filming the launch, but what he's catching the other object, which he's like, what is this other object?
Yeah.
While he's watching the launch. And he's also getting some great footage of the SpaceX.
Yeah, that's a cool launch.
And a lot of people see stuff. They go outside to watch SpaceX, and then they go, what the hell is this other thing,
Yeah.
And the other thing, it's the space station. It's the ISS.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially the ISS will flash and wink at you, all kinds of things.
Yeah,
It's fascinating.
Yeah.
So I assume that this right here is the actual object in question.
Yes,
at
that's the
beginning.
object in question. He knows he's filming. He knows he's
Yeah,
filming.
the other is SpaceX.
Yeah, yeah. The familiar rocket launching into the sky.
And that
You know,
is
the
really
crickets,
small in
too.
the sky.
Yeah, yeah.
So that is very star-like in its
Yeah,
appearance.
very star-like. Very star-like. Exactly, exactly.
And see, so frequently, especially something like that, I go with approach path because I live on an approach path. And there have been numerous times, even Halloween last year, walking around, there was a good like 45 minutes that I was walking with a buddy of mine that I did road work with, my wife, my kid. And I mean, I watched this object. It was static. It was static. It was static as we walked around. It was literally just my perspective as it came
Right.
along the flight line. And the
Right.
flight path goes directly over my house. You know, on occasion they're down low enough landing that, you know, you'll hear them, that kind of stuff. But yeah, when they are at just the right distance, that kind of stuff, everything converges together and it just looks like a very bright light at a hover.
Oh, yeah, I can still hear him. Where is he?
Yeah. Let's
There
go
he
back
is.
to that because now we're past the launch part.
Yeah.
So
The crickets aren't afraid.
no, not one bit.
Oh, there it is.
Where it is? Oh, there it is.
There it is. There we go. You know, we've got a flight. We can also, and these are great because he's got some perspective. We can go, oh, there's an airplane. We can
Yep.
find that exact airplane. We can identify that. And then we can, you know, match that. And Stellarium is so good because it'll help us
Yeah.
find the ISS, help us find most of the satellites, obviously, not any spy satellites. or anything
Absolutely.
like that.
Yeah.
And then, if you did you want to do which one was that one? Was that 10 or 11? Are we done? I can't remember.
This was number 9 or no, number 10.
Okay,
Number 10.
okay,
So
okay.
we have one more.
Okay, let's show the next one. And then I'll tell people about our meeting that they're all invited to.
Absolutely.
And then we'll be done, right?
So this has the date and everything on top, which is great.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, I don't know.
This is on a roof. This guy's on a roof. He's got a camera on a roof. He's outside watching it, but then he went to this roof camera and sent us the roof camera footage.
Okay.
But and that's a plane. That's not it.
Yes.
That's pretty normal.
Oh, here we go. Oh, wow.
Right?
And
And he's
that's
outside with his friends down below on the back porch, and they're just wondering, what the heck is that?
fairly close to satellite speed.
Yeah, yeah. And it does look like a sat. Like, honestly, when I looked at it, I just thought satellite. Like, what's the big deal? It's a satellite. But that's just an ISS again. And sometimes what
okay.
happens with them is that
Yeah.
it's just, it looks like a satellite, but much brighter, because they're saying to us, you know, look, he's saying to me, I have this roof camera. I see satellites all the time. This is much brighter than a satellite. It is not a satellite.
He's not
And
wrong.
he's right. I mean, he's not wrong. It's not quite the satellite we're all talking about. That is the ISS again. And it can really deceive people. It can really trick you because it looks different. And also, like you said, it can reflect light in different ways and do different
Well,
things.
the
And
panels on it are massive. Massive.
they're massive, just massive.
Like,
And they
just to
can
give you a
catch-
frame of reference, folks, your average satellite is maybe about the size of a school bus.
Yeah.
The
not
ISS
the-
is approximately the size of your child's elementary school.
Yeah. It's
Okay,
a house. There's a bunch of people living in this house.
It's huge. It's huge once you encompass the actual size of the solar arrays on it and everything else. The modules may be about as big as a house, but once you get the panels on it and everything else, you're looking at approximately the footprint of a small school.
Yeah.
You know, it's huge. So those panels, once again, to be able to reflect light in a much more detailed way, in a much brighter way than your average satellite. And this is a great example of that. And you know what's interesting? There is, just so you know, it costs a few bucks, CJ, but there is an ISS app.
Oh yeah.
There is an actual
I usually
app.
can find it. So
for nerds like me,
I
like if
have
you
that.
want to take a picture of the ISS transiting across the moon or the sun in your localized area, you can get the ISS app for
and you'll
about
know when it's
$5.
passing over you.
You will know, like you can set up an alert where it'll be like, hey, ISS is coming over in 5 minutes.
That's fun. And that's one of the things we can see even here in LA, where there's so much light pollution, you know, where you don't see a lot of stars or a lot of the satellites. We just can't see because there's so much light. But the ISS, you can really see. It's so bright.
Absolutely.
So,
And
so
that's
I know
just it.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I didn't even know we'd get through all those. I wasn't even sure. So the last two, sorry, they weren't that exciting, but the ISS is pretty cool to me. I mean,
it's learning though, and that's just
it's a
it.
learning
That's
curve.
the idea of this, is to help, because once again, once you've had an experience, once you've seen something in the sky, doesn't matter if it was the ISS or the balloons like what we saw, what have you, or the one UFO from Geno's Files. You know, once you've observed, once you have questioned, once you have started gathering other data, you're a scientist, man. Like the science began. Yep. Did you buy a ticket?
You're helping us learn. You're helping our investigators learn.
That's
You're helping us learn. You only learn, you know what I mean? Like no one's an expert at UFOs.
Yeah.
You can't be. It's not possible. And we only learn by seeing everything in the sky. So like, don't be shy about reporting stuff. Like, you know, just like people say, there's no dumb question. Like there's no bad report. Like report, because we learn from them no matter what they are.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah,
and once again, much like, hey, if you've got a friend who's into it like you and they're in the localized area, do like that guy did. Call him up. Tell him where to look, you know, and have them take a picture. Have them go make a report also. Because when you can triangulate those things, when you can get that kind of triangulative data where there are numerous witnesses in the same localized area that can say, I saw it to the southeast, I saw it to the northwest, you know, things like that. It really helps you localize a sighting and gather as much data as rapidly as possible in that kind of way.
Yep. Super cool. I love it. I love a good UFO. I love when I can't figure one out. That's always the best, when you can't figure one out. When you're just not quite sure.
And that's a good one. That's a good one, because there were some cool zigzag movements in there, some lightning bolts where it, you know, it was wild.
I mean, I guess it could be a drone. I don't know, but I mean, and also his footage is you know, there's a lot more footage. Like we just showed a little bit of it, but I think that's like 5 minutes long in the system. But two things can I talk for one more minute?
Please, absolutely.
Just like I know you got to get to the
show is
next
yours.
guy.
Go.
Okay, good. So last time I was here, you were asking about ERT data. And I asked Doc for some, and he gave it to me, and he said, yeah, share it. We work hard. They should know what we're working on. So it's not something I can look up, but I did get it from Doc. So the 2025 data is, we had 797 ERT, which is the Experiencer Resource Team, which means contact of some way, not just a light in the sky, but some sort of contact reported. It doesn't mean it happened, you know, some are mental illness, some are this, some are that, some are dreams, you know, some are different things. But so we had 797 reported domestically and 159 internationally. And the average comes out to be about 66, 67 we get per month reported from around, all the various areas and stuff like that. So I just felt bad that I had no data for you. It's not
That's
something I
okay.
can look up. Like I have to get it
Yeah.
from Doc.
No, absolutely. It's not just sitting in a Googleable database and that kind of
No,
way.
they don't want people getting access to that too.
Yeah.
It's just not. And then I just wanted to invite all your folks, all your friends and your listeners. So Southern California MUFON, we do meetings, and that's our website. So go to SoCalMUFON.com. It's on there too under events. But we just started January, the first Sunday of every month at 2 p.m. Pacific time. So do the math if you're not in Pacific time. I know in the Midwest you're going to be Central time. So that's going to be 4 and then 5 o'clock on the East Coast. And then if you're Mountain, and Arizona has its own situation going on with time. They don't observe. It's
The
anarchy.
holdouts, good for them.
Yes, it's just time anarchy in Arizona. But you can see in this in February we're going to be focusing on contact experiencers. The director of the Experiencer Resource Team, George Doc-Medich, is going to introduce it and talk about the ERT. And then we have Deborah Jordan Kabul, who was Kathy Davis in, help me, I can't talk right now. What was Bud Hopkins' book? Why can I not think of it?
Oh, God, I can't either right now.
Intruders.
There you go.
Sorry, I've got her book here, but I don't have, I've just finished Bud's book and now I'm reading her book, her version of it. And then Jeff Selver, another experiencer, but Deb is just like someone I've been fascinated, long before I wasn't even into UFOs. Like I remember seeing some footage of her and thinking like she's legit. So that'll be super cool. There's no charge. It's on Zoom. All you have to do is go to our Facebook page or our website, and there's you got to register, and from a email address that is associated with a Zoom account. That's for security reasons, because we want to make sure people are real. We don't want Zoom bombers.
That's
or anything
right.
like that.
No Zoom bots, nothing like that.
We don't, nothing like that. We don't need stalkers. We don't need just if you're not gonna just register from a legit account, and then you'll get the link that way, and then you can join us, and it should be a lot of fun. It's usually about 90 minutes to 2 hours, something like that. We try to keep it short, but everybody, it gets fun. It gets fun, and then you just keep talking, and then we do usually some questions at the end, and you're all invited. Everyone's invited. A big party, and it's the day before my birthday, and
Epic.
It should be fun. And that's it. And it's so fun. It's so good to see you. I love talking to you, man.
Same here. I love our conversations online. I love our conversations on the show even more. We definitely have to corner Gino at some point and get him on.
Yes.
We definitely need to start doing this and featuring other case files from other places, just like we started off with
states. Alaska
tonight.
Yep.
Let's start
get
talking
Florida,
to the other
let's get
states
some of these
and
other
things
states.
like
Yes.
that. Because
And Gino teaches he teaches at the School of Rock, so that's you might have to pre-record Gino because he works at night a lot of times.
He does.
So he performs. He's a rock star, and he also performs in the evenings. So if you can do a pre-record or something like that with Gino, that would probably be the best. But he would love to talk. He loves you. He loves you.
Well, I can't wait to see him this year at the symposium. I'll be speaking at the symposium. I'm so excited about that. You can find out more about that, folks, at MUFONsymposium.com. One last time before we let you go here, CJ, let everybody know where they can find out about SoCalMUFON.com and where they can go to report their sighting, no matter what state they are in.
No matter what state. Now, and we have it on our website at the top. It just links back. But you're going to just go to MUFON.com, and then you're going to go, and you'll see at the top, we just say report, and it just takes you there. Those two big red buttons. You're going to report a UFO, contact, whatever your situation is. You can go that way. You can join MUFON, become a member. One of our, all over the country. You don't have to be in SoCal. I know I'm in SoCal, but you guys are in the Midwest, and my sister's in the Midwest. Hello to my sister. She's in Des Moines, and my brother's in Ohio, and my other brother's in Louisiana. They're all over. Report it. Just click on there. You don't have to be a member to report. Just go over there and submit what you got. And, some people will just fill out the form and say, call me. I don't want to enter anything. Just let us know, because we do reach out. Someone in person will reach out to you. So
Absolutely.
Right.
CJ, thank you as always. It's great.
Oh, thanks, man.
We'll be sending links, all that kind of good stuff. Take care. Have a great evening, and
You
Godspeed
too, honey.
with all the investigations out there in SoCal.
Thank
I know
you.
guys get
Yeah, I
tons
know.
of
We
them,
are a
so-
busy location.
So, all right. We'll talk to you soon, CJ.
Bye, everybody.
Absolutely. Well, you are online, everybody, checking out everything from MUFON at MUFON.com. Make sure to stop on by Curious Realm. CuriousRealm.com is where you can like, follow, subscribe. That is where you can find all of the episodes. That's also where you can find your link to Curious Research. We have all kinds of research coming up around, including some amazing stuff on alien contact and abduction. Stop on by and check that out at curiousresearch.org, everyone. When we come back from this commercial break, I am very excited to bring this segment. I have wanted to get these two powerhouse guests together for a long time. Two of my very best favorite human beings in the world, period. Dr. Johl and Mike Turber, also two of my favorite guests to have on the show. We will be talking about sonic weaponry. We will be talking about the technologies possibly used in the recent attack in Venezuela that brought people not only to their knees, but to the point of vomiting blood, expelling blood from orifices like their eyes and their mouth and their nose, things like that. What technology could have caused that? Did we buy it from Russia? And was that the same technology that was used to target our same people and our diplomats and their families in Havana Syndrome cases, as well as TIs? That and so much more right after this break, everybody.
The key to good science is good research. At the heart of good research is a good data set. With the field observation and encounter log from Curious Research, you can easily keep track of your investigative information all in one place, making it easier to review cases and readily see comparisons and contrasts between them. Whether out in the woods squatching, in a back room gathering EVPs, or using high-tech gear to track UFO, UAP activity, this easy-to-carry, pocket-sized scientific data log is the perfect companion for any field researcher. You can find your copy of the Curious Research Field Observation and Encounter Log at Amazon.com or visit the official Curious Realm store at CuriousRealm.com/store to reserve your copy for yourself, your family, or a mind that you want to open. That website again is CuriousRealm.com/store.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back from that quick break. Thank you so much for staying through that with us. Also, thank you so much to our sponsors, especially True Hemp Science. If you're a user of CBD products like I am, stop on by True Hemp Science today. Check out the amazing products that they put out. Christopher Lynch and True Hemp Science use a spigeric process by which every part of the hemp plant is used. Everything from the roots, the seeds, the buds, the leaves, the stems. Every part is used, combusted, and reused to provide an amazing spigeric product, complete with terpene profiles and all. Stop on by and check them out. TrueHempScience.com is the website that you want to go to. Curious7 is the code that you want to use to save 7% off your entire cart of $50 or more and get a free edible on the way out the door. Our guest in this segment, we have two. It's not often that we have a double header, folks, like this, but recently with the attack in Venezuela, there was sonic weaponry used, apparently. And as many of you know, we have covered this topic for many, many years with our good friend, Dr. Johl. He is the author of Guinea Pigs, Technologies of Control, as well as Satellite Weapons. In America, we have had Mike Turber on numerous times talking about this kind of technology. And this is something that our government, as to date, has said that we do not have. We have LRADs, we have crowd control, but we don't have any, quote, sonic weapons in that kind of way. And I will pop that article from Forbes up once again. Epic win! U.S. secret weapon may have incapacitated Maduro's guards. And then out of CNN, Pentagon bought device through undercover operations some investigators suspect is linked to Havana Syndrome. This is the weapon that was used in Venezuela. We're talking about people bleeding from the ears, intense pain, all kinds of things. They said a crew of 20 operators took out a squad of hundreds of Venezuelan guards and military men. So welcome to the show, Dr. John Johl and Mike Turber, both of you together for the first time ever. Welcome, guys. How are y'all tonight?
I'm doing excellent. How's everybody else doing?
Doing great, and just would like to say it's an honor to be on with Mike Turber. I didn't know this was going to be a who's who of Curious Realm, but I have always enjoyed listening to him, and he's always right, it seems like, on when his take on some of these political and current events. So, I'm really honored to be on with Mike, and it's glad to be on here with you.
Well, likewise, I appreciate the compliment. Thank you.
And both of you gentlemen have such lengthy careers when it comes to this kind of technology. You, Dr. Johl, as far as the deep research, where these programs came from, where they rooted from, things like that. And Mike, with the actual field use of some of this technology and seeing it used and being part of operations where it gets used. So let's kind of backtrack some of this a little bit to the beginnings of Havana Syndrome. Doctor, because when we first heard about Havana Syndrome, it was illnesses, dizziness. It was blamed on crickets. It was blamed on pyrethrin. It was blamed on so many things, everything in the world except a sonic weapon.
Well, and obviously that's what happened in Venezuela. They said they saw these tons of drones, and they were all spraying Raid kitchen spray down on these guys that disoriented them, and I'm teasing, but yeah, you're right. Our history does go ways back, and I guess a quick way to sum it up is I was kind of thrown into the mix once I noticed people were being experimented on in our country non-consensually, and Mike kind of chose to be in the mix on his part. So, it kind of I think that what makes us interesting bedfellows for the show today. But, early on, our government denied having these weapons completely, and the press kind of helped them along with that. As you recall, the New York Times actually 10 years ago did a piece on me after whistleblowing on the fact that these technologies were being used experimentally on the American public and the global public, as it would turn out. Basically said I was the Pied Piper of the mentally ill, that these people were crazy and they weren't being experimented on, and no such weapons existed. So it wasn't really until Havana Syndrome, when diplomats started complaining of it, that all of a sudden the government had to kind of at least admit what the doctors were saying when these people got sent to, University of Pennsylvania, and some of them came to the same conclusion that I had came to 10 years ago, or longer, that these were microwave based or directed energy based weapons. So the only kind of good thing I think I see coming out of, if it's true that it was a combination of sonic waves and electromagnetic weapons that were used in Venezuela, it's kind of a backhanded disclosure. And when I mean backhanded disclosure, because you saw that one article says that it was previously unknown technology that was purchased from an underground source. It didn't say it was something we've been working on since 1980.
Yeah, precisely.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mike.
Well, one thing is that the mentioned device, which utilizes Russian technology, and just to be clear, this device apparently was not purchased from Russia or was from Russia with love of any sort of the imagination. But the device does apparently utilize a lot of Russian technology. They had been, dealing in this technology a lot longer than we actually had. So they're a little bit more advanced on some of the ways that they incorporate this into their special operations groups and things of that nature. And how we utilize it apparently is a bit different in that it's some sort of like a suppression thing. Like if you went in and you wanted to suppress or to control a guard group or a special operations group that is, to penetrate into whatever territory you're trying to get into. The advantage you have with this type of system is it provides more of a soft kill as opposed to something direct. So the system itself is designed to not kill the subject. It's designed to disorient and so forth or what have you. Now that all sounds, great to some people, but in reality, you still have a lot of legal questions that you have to look at as far as international laws and things of that nature. That's probably going to be the next round of subject matter that's going to be brought up by this. So, wow, we used a secret weapon, but hey, was it even legal to do so?
Yeah.
And what have you. So that'll probably be the next round of subject matter that's going to come up with this. But the first round is to find out, okay, which exact weapon did we use? Of the sonic type weapons and of the directed energy weapons, which weapon, category does it fall into? And it seems like it falls into two, because one you hear, and it was apparently this subject that we haven't been able to vet, and we're not really sure, but was brought out, by the press secretary, and that recording that we've all heard basically stipulates that they were able to hear this, and it sounded like their head was going to explode, and the different things that they mentioned. But the moment it kind of changed gears for me is when the person mentioned that there was bleeding from the nose, and people were vomiting up blood. That takes it out of the sonic weapon category and places it more towards the microwave side. So I'm thinking they may have used possibly both types of weapons, or just one that seems to have features that can go from the audible range down to infrasonic range, ultrasonic, and then into the microwave range. So not really sure on this one, but the Russian device apparently that we purchased seems to operate more towards the that microwave side. And then, Dr. Hall, I really want to hear your take on some of the things. I've got some questions for you down the road, because I want to learn from you this evening as well, because you've got a lot more extensive research on this area than I do. So I'm looking forward to hearing some of the thoughts that you've had on this weapon.
Well, first I'll say I agree with you completely on your assessment, because when we looked at, I was actually on a radio show the night it kind of broke. With Havana Syndrome, and it's a particular show that is familiar to Chris and I both. And at the time, they immediately went to, this is an acoustic weapon that has caused the Havana Syndrome. And I was on this particular show that night, and I went, no, this isn't going to be acoustic. This has got to be electromagnetic and probably microwave. And then, of course, it was a year later when the doctors at UPenn said, we did diffusion sensor imaging on these people's brains. There was white track matter damage, and it looks like it was damage from microwave energy. Yeah. Well, it's kind of the same thing that I noticed that you noticed with the Venezuelan attack is all of our acoustic weapons that I know of can't disperse on that wide of a range. I mean, you've got to fall within the cone to get the damage from it. And even then it's incapacitating sound, and it can, make you have diarrhea or make the vomiting and stuff. But the bleeding from the nose and the vomiting blood sounds more like injury, tissue injury. And that would come from electromagnetics or microwave. And even the one article that came out immediately, they used the term epic. And epic stems from a patent from 2007 for electromagnetic personnel interdiction and control system. And that was a patent that was for an electromagnetic weapon. So if if that's what was used, that was being investigated in the United States. That wasn't bought from anybody. Now, I find it interesting where you're talking about how it all comes from a Russian background. All of this actually stems back to Isaac Smirnov's technology that he invented a long time ago. When he passed away, his wife sold all that technology to the highest bidders, and those were civilian technology companies in the United States. It wasn't bought straight by the government, but it was bought by companies that later on became Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, and Archer. So, especially that third one, they're a big proponent of this technology. So, I mean, I agree with you completely that this sounds like it was a combination of technologies. There was a swarm of drones. There probably was some sonic involved with it, but you can hit a wider swath of people using electromagnetics. You don't have to fall within the cone of a sound-based weapon.
Yeah.
The advantage of the electronic based weapon that's not utilizing any sonic ability is that you can have a wide swath, just like you're saying, and you can also narrow that beam down to almost as narrow as you want.
Yeah, and an individual. Yep.
Yep, and you can go directly to the individual. The other thing is, as the more advanced systems and the more advanced uses of them would be to interject thoughts or to read thoughts back, through that type of system using a BMI, which a biological interface for the system, so that you would send a direct thought or a direct recording or a direct sound into the person's skull. Utilizing that technology as opposed to a actual sonic technology that everyone that's in the cone can hear. I think that's kind of the difference between the two, but this sounds like kind of a combination of the two, opening up that wide, say 30-degree cone or what have you. So everybody's affected. But then when, you can just turn it off, and the effects that have occurred inside the individuals that are affected by it, last upwards of 30 minutes to an hour or so. So once they fired those weapons, they could just turn them off as soon as our 20 guys or however many it was, landed on these building tops or what have you. And the people will still be affected. They can't return fire. They can't seem to think straight. They can't even stand up in some cases. And so it's a very, very effective system. And not one of our guys were injured. So apparently, it did as advertised.
No, you're right. It does have to be targeted to some extent, because you can't have it ongoing while our guys are dropping in.
Yeah.
But because that is the one thing that with these types of weapons, we've been working on them a long time, and we've developed them, and every other major industrial country has developed them as well. Nobody has developed any real good safeguards against protecting yourselves from them. As a matter of fact, about 5 years ago, there was a white paper from the Air Force looking for anybody on the outside in the civilian world that had developed ways to protect yourself from microwave energy. So that I know of, there's, a lot of these weapons, there's no way to shield an individual biologic system from it.
No, not and still be able to operate. I mean, you could probably build some sort of armor or some sort of apparatus that would surround the individual, but then the person is not going to be able to interact in a normal way, because the microwaves can penetrate.
Yeah.
And that's a big issue.
Yeah. Feel free to hop in a nuclear bunker. You'll be perfectly safe.
Oh, yeah. Or in a skiff. I think in a skiff I'd be okay.
Yeah. No, places that are like hardened specifically against that. Right. But you're talking 60 feet of concrete, sheets of copper, like, almost a foot thick, things like that. And I just pulled up another article from NPR that I had totally forgot. I can't believe that we didn't even talk about this, John Hall. Like a sound from hell was an illegal sonic weapon used on protesters in Serbia. So like almost the same kind of thing as far as it being an incapacitating sound. Now, it didn't go into the microwave damage like we were talking about in Venezuela, where they were bleeding from their eyes, where they were vomiting blood. That once again leads to a much higher range something that would cause, and what immediately leaps to mind was the Chinese laser, the handheld laser that they developed probably about 2015. The articles came out about the Chinese brain shaking laser.
Keep in mind too, there's also a device called a maser, which uses just like a laser uses light. A maser uses microwave. So and that's very, very directional. And what have you. And the way the microwave works, just so your listeners know, is that it's not like it's like and unlike what you have in your microwave oven. You're not being cooked per se, but the way it would transmit, or the way it would be utilized, is that just a 1 degree difference inside your ear would be enough to disorient you, and it would cause a sonic wave to go through your brain, or you would effectively have the expansion of gas bubbles inside your head, and that pressure you would feel immediately, but it would not be like you place an egg in a microwave and you microwave it and the egg explodes. That's not necessarily what happens, although I'm sure they could ramp it up and make it do that, but this is not that. So don't think that someone's aiming a microwave and cooking someone from the inside out. It's a little bit more in depth as far as the particular uses that they're wanting to, or the what they're trying to accomplish with it. So you're just trying to disorient.
Interestingly enough, when you just making that comment, I can tell you about 15 or 20 years ago, when I first kind of got into this fight, when we noticed we had tons of people actually coming to us and saying, I'm being hit with microwave energy, I'm being experimented on. All of the experts at the time that were working for the government actually said, and these were some big names, some people that have kind of come out, against Havana Syndrome now, but initially, even now, still basically fund their living from the government. So they won't just admit, they kind of walk the fence on one side or the other. But at the time when I started in this fight, they were saying, well, you can't have a microwave energy weapon that can do any type of damage like that without it liberating heat, and you would have heat damage to the neurological system long before you would be able to hear voices or have any type of change to that system before you had thermal damage. And that's just not true. Those weapons can be modulated through different frequencies to where, what they're doing is, you're right, is not thermal damage. What they're doing is they're causing a change in calcium ion channels and sodium and potassium ion channels. Are changing the way that your brain and your neurons actually function. And you're right. All it takes is to interrupt 1 or 2 calcium ion channels in the cochlea, and you're not going to be able to stand upright and do anything.
Yeah, those systems, especially those biological systems in the body of balance, things like that. And when those get out of whack, so much can happen.
Well, imagine being a soldier and you're standing there and all of a sudden you start to have a headache and you hear this weird clicking sound inside your head, and then you feel this pressure, coming on, and then you become disoriented, and then you get sick and what have you. That's gonna be really strange experience that you're not training for. There's no one that really trains for this kind of stuff. So these guys that were the 100 or 300 or so that were basically the guards of that Maduro compound, they had no clue what was happening to them, and they didn't know if it was the end of the world, or for some of them it was. I think the count was 100 or so of the Venezuelan and 32 or so of the Cuban guard group that was there that were killed. But there was also the ones that were just affected by what was going on and with the device that was being utilized. Now, my understanding is the device requires a rather extensive power system to be supplied to it. And that's going to put it in the helicopter. I don't see, because a lot of people hear about the drones that were talked about. The drones probably provided some sort of reflective ability for it, or some sort of like a DRFM, which is digital radio frequency modulation.
I was gonna say, if anything, they can provide mesh network for it to travel over in some kind of way. Yeah. But yeah, there would be no way that you would need a major size, like something carrying a Hellfire missile sized drone to be able to power something like that.
Exactly. And when they described the drones that were in the area, they kind of described them as relatively small. They weren't talking about hundreds of Predators or something like that flying around, because, I mean, those things are, if no one's ever seen a Predator up close, these things are as large as regular aircraft. But when you see pictures of them, it's hard to tell. They look like they could be small, but they're really not. They're huge. But it does require an extensive power source. Microwave power to power a microwave transmitter of something that can create this large of an affected area. You're looking on the orders of one of those helicopters or however many of the helicopters were there as a supportive role that had this device on board. I'm thinking there was two distinct technologies being utilized, because when they mentioned that they were the disorientation and what have you can be attributed to one or the other, but generally not both. So you have to pick or choose. And some of the lower frequency range that I've seen personally, and this is in the Nevada desert, just outside Las Vegas, and that is very when you experience it for the first time, it's basically like a low rumbling, and then you're inside, your organs are basically bouncing around, and it's a very sickening feeling. Some people that went to see the movie Earthquake, when they had the Cerwin Vega D9 speakers, you remember that, were actually larger than the D9s. Those speaker systems were placed into the theaters to give the people the experience of an earthquake. But prior to an earthquake, you have these very low frequency signals that essentially go through the ground, and animals seem to pick up on that, quicker than humans do. But that same type of frequency is also utilized in some of the systems that I have seen, although I never was part of the system that would utilize that technology. I was able to see it in action, by going to DARPA and IARPA and stuff like that. But that disorientation of immediately becoming sick was what people were experiencing at the earthquake, the film, in the first couple of weeks. So they had to change some of how that was done.
Well,
so
and that was being an audio engineer, that's one of the main stories I remember was like they did not account for the pressure wave of the returning sound wave, because it's got to go somewhere. And when it bounces off the wall, now you have a sustained wave in that room. So it's different it's different than just like being at a rock and roll concert and 8 hertz subwoofer hits you. You're now in between two sources of 8 hertz. And when that sympathetic vibration happens, that's when things go haywire and when things go crazy. And when it matches the resonance of
if you fire any type of wave generating device, whether it be sound or whether it be directed energy or what have you, each object that you aim it at has a certain frequency that it resonates at, and once you get it to resonate at the same frequency as, say, a skull or an inner eardrum, that's what they were apparently going for. Yeah. And apparently it works. The technology is there.
Yeah, it's funny when you were mentioning, imagine being one of those soldiers and all of a sudden your head's pounding, you're getting nauseated, you want to thump and in the sound. Well, I heard the same thing from one of the CIA agents that was recently targeted with Havana Syndrome. Imagine you're out doing your job and all of a sudden you hear this sound and you're immediately nauseated and your head's pounding. And I thought to myself, imagine being a housewife in Austin and having that happen. Yeah. And that's where I came in, is when people started coming in and saying we're being followed and we're experiencing all these symptoms. I mean, for your listeners, if this technology is not going to go away, I mean, we've invested too much money in it. I mean, because I know a lot of the people that were experimented on are non-consensually are like, well, it needs to go away. It's never going to go away.
Yeah.
The best and look for is an admission that we have it and legitimate oversight over it, so it's not used experimentally on anybody.
Yeah.
But that was kind of what got me into this whole fight. If it's used as a weapon system appropriately, I don't have much of a problem with that. What got me into this fight was the fact that it shouldn't be being used experimentally. It's by the government itself or by one of the companies that's actually creating the technology. So,
well, and honestly, it's no. And here's the thing, especially talking about it like that, John Hall. There's a lot going on in our country right now. There's a lot that's been going on in our country. I just had the article up from Forbes magazine about, quote, heat ray and the voice of God, my experience with the non-lethal weapons eyed for use in the D.C. protests. That was 2020. And they were talking about using those exact weapons on protesters here in the United States. Using them on protesters in Serbia, things like that. Like they said in Serbia, this isn't supposed to, battlefield, okay. Why is this being used to disperse protesters?
Or even why is it maybe possibly being used to create protesters? It's not, this technology, you can create a protest with it too.
That too.
You can rile people up. I mean, it kind of got me thinking with the Renee Good shooting. I've got a 4-year-old daughter and I don't know, don't particularly like the government, coming in and, and being forceful with the population. But I don't think I'm going to leave my 4-year-old kid here to go put my car in front of an ICE agent and risk getting killed myself, unless maybe I'm being controlled a little more than just through media propaganda.
Well, and, that brings up the one that I bring up all the time right after we met, that nice young African-American mother who heard the voice of Obama in her head to the point that she went to drive to the White House down the wrong way on the one-way street on the way in and got shot by Secret Service, but when her family thought she was crazy, all kinds of things. So yeah, these weapons can be used in that kind of right. And to bring it to point, folks, just so you don't think we're crazy about this, one of the things that John Hall and I were just on, Clyde Lewis. Clyde Lewis about is the recent lawsuit that is being raised against the CIA because they were witness tampering in the Havana Syndrome case and quite literally tampering to the fact of, basically bringing people in under the guise that they were going to get help, but never really get help. What you were going to do was get a diagnosis, and they were really just testing to see if the efficacy of their weapon worked. And that's horrifying. That's horrifying. But just so you know, active lawsuit right now against the CIA talking about these weapons, talking about the fact that these anomalous health incidents, they were invited to come in, give their testimony and everything else under guise of getting medical attention, and then just turned away. And all their data taken and all of the information about their experience taken in to, help grade the weapon and make sure it works right. That's horrific.
And actually you can go, if you have TRICARE, you can go in right now, and if you complain of an AHI and an anomalous health incident, there is now a platform that the military doctors are given that guides you exactly through what to do with these patients and what diagnostics to do and everything else. I've got a copy of it. So, it is an official TRICARE diagnosis now, AHI.
Yeah, and I've got it up on screen right now from tricare.mil, anomalous health incident. It is a thing, folks. So if you're a member of the military or family member of the military, and that's just it. You may be, and my wife asked me today what it would take to have a class action lawsuit. And I said provable damages. You would have to have provable damages in some kind of way. And when you're talking about provable physical damage to your brain, to your children's brain, to your wife's brain, to a husband's brain, it's all over the place when it comes to Havana Syndrome and the fact that these things, really the only thing that's missing from the incidents in Venezuela and the weapon used there is the bleeding from the eyes and the vomiting blood. I don't know, and maybe I'm wrong, Dr. Hall. Maybe I haven't read all the cases properly, but were there any cases like that from Havana Syndrome in that kind of way?
Not that I heard. Now, a couple of people that got around to sending, kind of their representatives. There was a gag order on all of those people. Now, the one guy I would like to really talk to would be the, was it Mark Polymeropoulos?
Polymeropoulos. You and I both, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, he would be interesting to talk to because he is still under the assumption that he was attacked by a foreign country. Yeah. Which I think my assumption is that all of Havana Syndrome at that time was probably done to our own people by our own people.
And probably, once again, as we've said before, with foreign technologies, like Mike said, and like the CNN article said, the device was bought through an undercover program. And we've known, I've said for years that, yes, China and Russia are probably far, far ahead of us on this kind of technology, simply because of their non-reticence to experiment in such ways.
I'll bump this off of Mike because Mike is a pretty in the know guy. But my gut feeling when Havana Syndrome hit, and they immediately started blaming Cuba or Russia for doing it. For one, well, when that embassy was built, Russia probably knows exactly how many nails went into that building. Yeah, and so when they blamed it on that at the time, Trump, was in office. Trump was, not wanting to befriend Cuba the way the Democrats were wanting to befriend Cuba. And they wanted him out so bad that a good impeachable offense would be to have a president that allows a foreign power to attack our own people. And that's kind of what that looked like they were trying to do with that. Well, when it failed, then all of a sudden they attacked a few people in D.C., a couple people in China, a couple people in Vietnam, and then trying their best to make it look like it was a foreign power attacking people. But we know better on the outside because I've dealt with thousands of people right here that are housewives, that are, real estate agents, that are doctors, that are lawyers, that are homeless, that are drug addicts, that are, that every walk of life, male, female, every gender, every nationality that has been experimented on with this technology, not by a foreign power, by us. So I immediately just kind of thought, they jumped too quick to blame it on Russia. And then immediately started jumping too quick to blame it on crickets, blame it on pesticide, blame it on opposing surveillance technology within the embassy that was interfering with each other. We've been spraying permethrin as kitchen spray or Raid and on crops for 1,000 years now. If it was going to cause us to hear voices, it would have done it a long time ago.
Yeah, I think in this whole situation here is we're really talking about two different, not necessarily two different technologies. They all fall under the same umbrella, but as we talk, my mind is separating the systems that I'm aware of from the systems that are being talked about, where actual voices are being put into people's heads and things of that nature. I don't think, even though it's the same category or same umbrella of types of devices, it's two distinct different outcomes as far as what's being done. One is more or less a military weapon to suppress a guard group or what have you, like what happened in Venezuela, and the other is to basically interject thoughts or behavioral changes in a person, and that technology is probably way more advanced, way more different than what we're talking about with Venezuela. But it's all in the same lines, that a device is using a directed energy weapon beam, so to speak, to create a situation or a behavioral change in an individual to cause him to do something you want them to do or not do. And that's where the overall spectrum of this whole thing all comes under one big umbrella. And my knowledge on Havana Syndrome is very limited. And I could learn a lot from you. I think I need to learn a little bit more about it. I'm more into the technology part of it. But I'm curious as to when the people were discovering that the syndrome was occurring, was it more of a people were blaming it on schizophrenia or some other form of psychological thing, and like they were being gaslighted or what have you? Is that kind of what's?
Oh yeah. It was. It appears to me that it was invented. Early MK Ultra projects were all headed up by psychiatrists. And most of those psychiatrists went on to be the head of the American Psychiatric Organization. Right. I mean, died with glowing eulogies. They weren't seen as monsters for non-consensual experimentation, believe it or not. Even though the same experimentation they did is what we persecuted. At least persecuted some of the Nazis that did that kind of experimentation. Some of them will be brought over here and hired them. As a matter of fact, I live in San Antonio, Texas. Our aerospace library was named after one of the Nazi scientists that experimented on the Jews during World War II. The Strogold Aerospace Library. The name's been changed over the last 2 or 3 years. But yeah, I mean, the technology, since there were psychiatrists at the helm of it, it appears to me that it was designed specifically to imitate psychosis or schizophrenia, because that way you had a natural out, I mean, and to this day, I mean, if you go to even though there's a million ways to put voices in somebody's head now, using several different types of technology, if somebody goes and says, you know what, I'm hearing somebody talk to me in my head, you're going to be diagnosed, no matter what documentation you put in front of them. And believe it or not, most of what the victims here at least describe first off is stalking. It's organized stalking. And obviously there's got to be some type of a biometric that they're gleaning from that. I mean, because you'll notice, and I mean, it's inundation stalking. These people are there's somebody outside their driveway. There's somebody at work. They might hire people that work at the same company to kind of be around them. I mean, and that goes on for a month or so. And then the electronic stuff starts, the voices in the head. And it's a platform. And I believe it or not, I've spoke to a representative from one of the companies that actually developed this technology. I ran into him at a Halloween party, and he knew me. I didn't know him. He's like, "You're the doctor that wrote the books on on Havana Syndrome and stuff." And I said, "Yeah, I mean, that's not how I wanted to be known in life, I guess. Right. But that's the path that chose me." And he said, "Yeah," he goes, "The company I'm with developed a lot of the technology, and yeah, we can track you, from 5 or 6 miles away. We can actually put voices in your head. We can hit you with microwave energy, and we can vaporize you completely if we want to."
Yeah, that technology definitely exists, and I know DARPA and IARPA were involved in some of the. This actually stems back a little bit to some of when Bluetooth was coming on to the market. DARPA saw the potential in that, and they moved forward. I think it's called N3, which is the current military type iteration of what Bluetooth could have been, so to speak. But the military has a little bit more necessary uses for it, to where encrypted messages and things like this. But the offshoot from that was being able to interject and or read thoughts from a person without necessarily having a direct connection to the person. Meaning, you're not going to walk around with electrodes on your head while we're trying to transmit things into your head. They could do this remotely. But the range is somewhat short. So anytime this is happening, the transmitter has to be very close, almost as close as like a Bluetooth type range, but a little bit more advanced with the N3 variants. But a lot of keep in mind, and I know it's a sore subject for a lot, but yes, I did work with a particular agency that was involved in some of this. But one of the things that was important that they were able to bypass all kinds of different, laws and what have you, as far as, intercepting someone's package and placing hardware or software into that package. I mean, they actually have an office in Louisville, Kentucky, where, UPS next day air shipments come in, and they could grab laptops and quickly, interject this software into it. But the transmission of the signal utilizes a very special type of antenna, and that is, I guess, what you would look for. Now, one thing I did see at one point in time was a pair of glasses that had this antenna basically placed into it. Whereas you could actually, and I'm not talking about bone induction, but you could put these glasses on and actually hear a signal that was being transmitted to you, whether it could be, the fidelity wasn't that great, but it was enough to where you could understand an audible message being read to you. This was 15 years ago. So I'm sure that technology is way more advanced now, but, you'd have to have that signal generator very close to the subject that's being, gaslighted, for the lack of a better word. But yeah, that's,
and most of those systems, and I'll pull mine out right here. This is my Spotlight speaker that I built. Like, this little kit literally cost about $150 on eBay. I'm not encouraging people, but they exist. You can see the little array of, basically ultrasonic transmitters. There's ultrasonic emitters. This one goes up to about 100 feet, something like that.
There you go.
So they are very, and I'm sure that there's much higher grade, but even still, when you're talking especially about high level frequencies like that, like, hey, low level, like whales talk to each other across the ocean with low level. The high level screeching that you hear is very close communication for them. That's not what they use for distance communication, communicating with their pod 3-4 miles away, something like that. That's what they talk with when they're in proximity of each other, because the medium of water does not carry high end like that. It carries low end.
There are devices that all of us seem to own that you could very easily place the technology into that specific device that we all seem to own. And there are working agreements between DARPA and some various agencies in the United States. I won't necessarily say which ones, but
all
you can take a guess. Many of them start with the letter N.
Let's just say all of them.
Yeah, all of them. And anything involved in the intelligence community.
Yeah.
But this is something like I know when the initial contract was done with Samsung a long time ago, and that if you want your product to be sold in the United States, you have to make it to this specification or that specification, or this particular IC chip has to be used, or something along those lines. Something like that is something that would be very simple to covertly place into an everyday device like our phones that are with us all the time, and that phone would be very close to you at almost all times. So they would be able to control any of that information being transmitted to a specific individual, especially through that device.
Yeah.
I could see that being done with technology that's 10, 15 years old. So.
And I just popped it up on screen from ACLU. DHS is circumventing Constitution by buying data it would normally need a warrant to access. And that's just it. Like, they don't have to actively put the software on your phone. You'll gladly put it on there there's a reason why, In-Q-Tel was a large investor in Facebook. Threads, all kinds of things, because these back-end systems that they use to not just gather your data, but to push you in that kind of way. Like, what gets pushed to you advertising-wise, folks, creepily enough, is not even a predictive algorithm. Like, that computer is pushing you to buy the object. It's creepy. It's creepier than the fact that it listened to you to get the data. So the fact that you have opted in means that they can gather that data, and now they can just go buy it from them.
Yeah.
Well, and they've also been having meetings on determining laws to protect neurobiological data.
That's
meaning,
right.
You know,
That's
meaning
right.
them picking up on your emotions and on your thoughts and on what you see and what you hear. So, I mean, that's another kind of a backhanded admission that the technology is already there.
Part of that, John, like literally, I'm getting ready to do a thing with time-coded camera and nighttime camera next to each other. A friend of mine showed me this. His wife was feeding their baby in their room, and while feeding the baby, she was doing the evening doom scroll. I'm not going to mention I'll mention the platform. She was scrolling Insta. She was scrolling through Instagram. And literally about every 30 seconds or so as she scrolled, you saw what looked like the flash on the camera went off. Infrared light coming out to take a picture of her face. So it's literally reading your biometric data. It is reading the way that your eyes are responding. It's reading your pupillary dilation to see if you're interested, to see if you're angry, to see what the next thing it needs to push to you is. So
iPhone has been doing that for years. That's their internal LiDAR system that actually maps your face. You're exactly correct.
And they were iPhones, so they definitely had the LiDAR on them. So that stuff is out there. It's what's being used. You've already given it permission for that control. You know, so the idea of them being able to push a signal across a device that could do something like that, not beyond the means of comprehension or concept. You know, that is a disturbing reality.
And they'll hide it under metadata.
While we've got
Go ahead, John.
While we've got Mike on here, that's why I'd kind of like to throw this out at him.
Please.
You know, there was a time when all of this technology was invented, meaning for use on the battlefield. It was going to be combatants against enemy combatants. Well, you can kind of make an argument now that we're all combatants.
Yeah. And that's very true.
I mean, because whether it's our government, whether it's other government using on them, or a foreign government using these technologies, you know, on us, you know, it ultimately, like a nuclear weapon, is going to affect us all.
Yeah, and they would hide that under the term of terrorism, and then the new term that we somewhat have gone accustomed to is domestic terrorism.
Yep.
So they're kind of prepping you for saying, okay, we're not only going to monitor terrorists that we view overseas, which is what I used to do. We will also turn that guys inwards, which we were not allowed to do, but apparently we were obviously doing anyway. But it took a FISA court order for us to do surveillance, internal and external to the United States. And God, I think over the thousands of whatever requests that were put in, there may have been 2 or 3 that were denied for whatever stupid reasons. Normally it's a problem with the actual way that it was submitted, but everything was approved. So when you cycle this back and you look at all of this data that is in basically, your whole life is put into this little capsule and is stored in this facility in Bluffdale, Utah. And that facility is an amazing facility technologically, but when you actually think about what's happening inside, is that data is the same data that a normal, regular, everyday company is also getting from you. Yeah. It's not just that, this guy might be a terrorist, we're going to track his information and put it over here. Every single person in the United States, all of their data is pretty much stored by either Amazon through their huge switch facilities, and also obviously our intelligence community through their facilities and so forth. So it's a scary process, and at any time they can pull that information up and utilize it in ways that we probably can't even imagine.
Yeah. Yeah. And for those of you wondering where this went, it's the fact of it is another means of targeting technology. It is another means to, once again, even if it's to push the content that is the rage bait content that pushes you over the edge, what have you, these are the means by which they have of control. Yep. you know,
and it would make what John's talking about with Havana Syndrome, or whatever, is if you're targeting an individual, you know, this can be so random. I mean, a lot of this technology is utilized by contractors and by private investigative companies around the country. So this technology is not necessarily limited to they. Whenever we're talking about them being the government, it's also filters out into those companies that we use every day, and companies that we hire.
Well, and that's just it. And that's something that I've held the whole time, is whether or not it was the actual alphabet agencies, it was more than likely contractors thereof, who much like they will maintain that they do not use remote viewing as a human gathering source or a human intelligence source. However, that doesn't mean that the human being used by their contractor isn't a remote viewer.
Yeah.
Because now the government could say, yeah, we don't have an actual remote viewing program anymore. That's not what we do. We don't fund that. But now that technology is in the hands of private contractors, and they utilize it.
Well, and Mike is exactly right. I mean, 20 years ago when my first book came out, which was about a specific individual that was targeted, and we did counter surveillance on her, and what we found was that she was being targeted by a private investigative company that was owned by a former FBI agent. He had a son who was a lieutenant colonel in the DOJ, and it was I mean, this wasn't, you know, something that was in her mind or we suspected. I mean, I had these people followed as well. Yeah. You know, so, and did manage to kind of limit what they could do in and around San Antonio just by identifying them to their victims. But, you know, when it came down to actually getting them arrested, you know, basically at that time, you know, we were told, well, he's former FBI, he owns an investigative company. Right. Stalking is what he does, you know, and unless you can prove at that time, you had to prove physical harm to get a restraining order from a PI. You know, now if you notice the same person stalking you 2 or 3 times, you can get a restraining order without proof of harm. But at that time, I mean, they were running free reign. And the girl I wrote about was being controlled to eat and drink things where they had put Rohypnol in her food. Once she was doped up, they were basically using her, sex trafficking her to men who were paying money to come and rape her.
Mm.
That's sad.
Yeah. And those are some of the horrible things that come of this kind of stuff. And that's just it. The fact that we now have not only proof that people who've said that they've been targeted and suffered these kind of issues for decades now are not crazy. I've said for the longest time, I think Havana Syndrome is a huge point of vindication. I think the Havana Syndrome Act is a huge point of vindication. And I think if anything right now, this ongoing lawsuit right now, which I will be following like a dog with a friggin' bone, John Hall. I think this is one of the most beautiful things to happen to this community. Because if this lawsuit goes through, it opens gates. It opens all kinds of possibilities for those others that have suffered in other ways.
So, Mike, I don't know if you knew this, but when I first kind of got into this fight, and I'll tell you, I had a friend in the CIA, and when I turned to him and I said, "Look, I'm working with this girl. You know, she's hearing voices in her head. She's responding back to the voices in her head. You know, it's a synthetic telepathy type of thing." And I said, "I know a little bit about this technology already." And I said, "But what I need to know from you is it being used here?" And his words to me, he said, it's satellite based, and he goes, "It's a weapon of war for use abroad only." And I said, "Well, how would somebody get a hold of it to use it here?" Now, at the time, their excuse was that, well, it's probably somebody that still has a clearance that's possibly hacking into the system to get it. Well, now, as I found out recently, is that almost all of this platform was actually created and ran by a civilian company, technology company, and they loan it out to the CIA and the NSA. As a matter of fact, I spoke to the owner, and the owner said that right now the CIA owes them about $12 billion in rental fees for this platform, and that they're thinking about cutting them off. And it's the same platform that the NSA used. If you remember, they had a thing called Lovent, where they were basically picking attractive women out of the grocery store and then basically zapping them and trying to get them to masturbate and watching them and, reading their thoughts and trying to control them. So, I mean, it's been going on for a while, and all the victims of it that I work with are all focused on trying to figure out a way to block it. And I've told them, I said, if the government themselves can't figure out how to block this technology from their own assets, whether those are soft targets or hard targets, you're probably never going to have the money or the technology to do that. The only answer is political, and it's a way to admit that we have the technology so we can at least start focusing on some form of oversight on it.
Yeah. And then we'll still utilize it for overseas operations, which apparently is our justification for having it in the first place.
Yeah.
But as far as the technology itself, especially through use of satellites, the ability to transmit into a certain area or a specific Wi-Fi target or a specific whatever frequency range you want to be on. But 2.4 gigahertz seems to be the magic frequency range that everybody likes to operate in. The satellite would not be able to pull that. So what happens is a small network is created, and then the information is gathered, and basically it's put together in packets and then sent up to whichever satellite, or just through the cables, because most of our transmissions are cables anyway. But that the utilization of that technology is so far advanced and so far above what our pay grades would so to speak be now. I know 15 years ago, when I was a little bit more involved, I was amazed at what I was seeing then. And it grows just like Moore's law. It's like that exponential. Every 18 months, everything seems to double or what have you. And now the technology is of such that a small device, keep in mind, companies like T-Mobile are now working with SpaceX to involve satellite communications with your cell phone that you already own. Now think about this for a moment. How in the world does your telephone that you already own right now have technology to allow it to transmit to a satellite right now without any further modification? That means we've been putting this technology in cell phones for years. So chew on that for just a moment and think about the bigger implications of what I've just said. So you're exactly right.
Yeah. It's once again a frightening prospects come about real quick, and once again, and that was the question in that NPR article that I brought up a while ago about the protesters in Serbia having the weapon used on them. They were like, "This isn't allowed in civilian use in our country. This is only for military use. This is only for use in the battlefield." And that's what those things were developed for. And I remember even whenever they first started using LRADs for crowd control and things like that here in the States, it was a huge ethical question as to whether or not they should be deployed on public.
Actual water cannons. They compared LRADs to a water cannon. They basically stated in court that if you're going to use LRAD and it's a audible sound that everyone can hear that's in that 30-degree cone, what difference is that than, say, a water cannon from a fire truck? That's the analogy that they were using. And I don't think the implications of exactly what that person was saying were really taken into account there, because there's a lot more technology that goes into an LRAD than what goes into a water cannon, if you think about it for a minute. So there's a little bit more crowd control. I think John's work is incredibly interesting, and I definitely want to delve into it. It has to be a lot of gut-wrenching things you've had to go through and listen to some of these stories from these people, I could just imagine some of the things that they've had to talk about, the things you might not have been able to put in a book or anything. But, man.
The most interesting thing is I've actually had people call me and say, you know what, I guess I must be schizophrenic. I'm hearing people talk to me and I'm answering them back, and we're having conversations about stuff, and it's all, so I've had people say, I'm thinking about going to a psychiatrist because isn't that what happens when you're schizophrenic? And I went, well, you may be getting targeted because, schizophrenics don't think that way.
Yeah.
They don't think, well, I'm schizophrenic, I'm finally crazy. And the interesting thing is most of the victims I've worked with, they notice the stalking first. And this all happens when they're 30 or 40, 45 years old. I mean, schizophrenics are, females, it pops up a little later in life. Male schizophrenics, they're not right at about 14, 15. So, I mean, schizophrenia is not something where all of a sudden at 40, you're being followed around by a bunch of people you don't know, hearing voices, and it's other stuff besides that. I mean, it's, your garage doors opening and closing on their own, your lights opening and closing on their own. I mean, and it's funny because right when I was writing my first book and dealing with the victim I wrote about here, we've got a couple of NSA bases here. We got a bunch of military bases. It's
I was going to tell you about the garage doors. Yeah.
Yeah. And there was one whole neighborhood that their garage doors were going open and they were hearing voices and everything else. And the NSA stayed silent about it for a couple of years until people's wiring started burning up in their homes. And then they finally came out and they didn't say they were experimenting on the neighborhood. They said, well, we're experimenting with a new ground wave communication technology.
That was true. And I can tell you the whole story too, that we purchased that building there. It used to be a Sony chip manufacturing plant. And that building, the reason why we purchased the building is because of the chillers and all the systems that it had in place to cool down all the electronics that we were putting in there. So while it was being built, the sub-level communication system that was brought in for encrypted communications over a Motorola type walkie-talkie. Whenever you would key the mic on the system, it would the garage doors across the street, it was the weirdest thing. This is around, I think it was close to Christmas time, and it was just like, people would be outside smoking while we're still building the building. The building wasn't even complete yet when this was going on. And they'd be outside smoking, hey, look at that. All these garage doors are going up and down. It's very similar to when ILS chose that frequency to use for instrument landing system on aircraft. When aircraft would come in, they'd key the mic to initiate the ILS system. And then next thing you know, people's garage doors were going up and down. So a very similar situation, but this was happening in San Antonio, which apparently that's where you live. Yeah. So I'm very familiar with that situation. So
and that wasn't the only place. The other place that was, there was a building on Tioga and Wurzbach Parkway that was called the Southwest Learning Center. Sounds like a place where single moms go to learn clerical work, and it was also an NSA base, and they had a bunch of servers there, and that's where they were watching people that play Xbox Live on internet and several other gaming systems because they were afraid that terrorists were possibly communicating over these gaming networks. And it has since closed down.
Yeah, we were monitoring mainly as like PlayStation, which is a little bit harder system to work with. But the ISIS and ISIL and all the different organizations that were the Middle East based ones, and also the ones in the Philippines, were utilizing the chat feature inside the games to communicate. And it was extremely frustrating to try to monitor that because it was somewhat encrypted through Sony or through Microsoft. But the PlayStation seemed to be their system of choice. And there's a lot of monitoring that was done. And you are correct. It was definitely utilized that way. And so a lot of the systems or the buildings, the recruiting centers is what you were seeing. That building, there was more of a recruiting center than anything else. And a lot of times what they do is they put these small satellite offices around. There's a lot of them around Baltimore for some reason, 9800 Savage Road. So when you look at what they're doing, is one is a recruiting scenario that's being played out, and the other is also to essentially monitor that whole region. There may have been another reason to put that facility there. It wasn't there when I was there. I know that. But generally, when they put a recruiting type center in place in a city, you're going to find that there's some other reason they're doing it, but they give it such innocuous names. Like you said, the learning center is just like and it's all NSA backed or CIA backed, and CIA is the one that pumps out the most money for some of those types of systems. NSA just doesn't have enough, field operatives that work in the field. It's a bunch of techno nerds, and it's still under the military. So, you have the military umbrella that's covering it. So,
I don't know when you were here, but I know the original NSA base here before they bought the Sony building had been the Medina Base Air Force Base.
Yes. Yeah. Lucky me, I didn't have to deal with that. I think there's a Walmart and there's an apartment complex that's right there next to the facility in San Antonio, and that's kind of where our hangout was. I was there for probably 2 months when that initially happened, and I was during the time when the garage doors would open up. There's a news crew out there. I don't remember what your local station was, but they were filming it, and we at that very moment we didn't know it was us until somebody went back inside, and if you keyed the internal mic for the system, that would cause the doors to open up. If you keyed your walkie-talkie, it wouldn't do it. But that's
too funny.
Yeah, and you're right. And that neighborhood and that Walmart was all there at 151 by SeaWorld. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Crazy, man. Crazy world.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, I want to thank y'all both so much for coming on. We need to do this more frequently where we have both of y'all on talking about this. I've been wanting to do it for a long time, and I'm so glad that we did, because we covered a lot of ground. We covered a lot of technology. We, once again, confirmed a lot of things, I think, when it comes to what technology may have been in use in Venezuela, what systems may have been in use, and what systems may be in use not only for Havana Syndrome, but for targeting individuals in the way that we normally talk about it, John Hall. So, Mike Turber, thank you so much for coming on. John Hall, thank you as always for coming on. I'm so glad that I got you gentlemen together tonight.
Yeah, awesome. A great meeting you, John. I greatly appreciate this evening. I definitely want to learn a lot more from you, and it was great talking to you. And it's a small world to have some of the stories that we actually probably somewhat crossed on it a couple of times. It's really interesting.
Yep, it was an honor being on with you, and Chris, always an honor being on the show.
Same. Mike, before we let you go, let everybody know where they can go to follow 5x5 News, where they can go to keep up with the latest, the greatest, all that kind of good stuff.
In general, probably the best place to interact is going to be on X, formerly Twitter. And also, we're going to ramp up here in the next month or so. So you'll see us a little bit more active on TikTok. We're not so active on YouTube because of the algorithm problem that started way back with the Las Vegas thing. So we're probably going to launch a different channel to, combat that. But yeah, X and TikTok will be the best ways.
Awesome.
To get a hold of it.
Awesome. And John Hall, let everybody know where they can go to get their copies of Guinea Pigs, Technologies of Control, as well as New Breed, Satellite Terrorism in America.
That would be Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, and, of course, Curious Realm.
That's right. Absolutely. Hold the line real quick, gentlemen, while we close things out with the audience. Thank you both so much again for a great, great evening of conversation. Well, you are online, everybody, checking out everything from Dr. John Hall as well as our good friend Mike Turber from 5x5 News. Make sure to stop on by Curious Realm. CuriousRealm.com is where you can like, follow, subscribe. That is where you can find all of our episodes. That is where you can find our store full of all the books, courses, videos from our guests, as well as the Knowledge Vault and your link to Curious Research. We have begun putting all kinds of great content up there. We have our Knowledge Vault as well as new research there, links to research partners, links to free tools, as well as your copy of the Field Observation and Encounter Log. Thank you as always, everybody, for your open hearts, your open minds tonight. That is what makes the conversation. And without the conversation, humanity does not march forward. So remember, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and stay curious. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of The Curious Realm. Stay tuned for more guests, forbidden topics, and hidden truths. Follow us on social media by searching Curious Realm. To download the official Curious Realm app and view the Knowledge Vault, or become a sponsor of Curious Realm, visit our website at curiousrealm.com. Curious Realm is available on your favorite podcast and video services, curiousrealm.com, as well as KGRA Radio, APR TV, and the official Curious Realm app for Roku devices. Curious Realm is a proud member of the Ground Zero Media family of podcasts. For more shows and members-only content, visit groundzeroplus.com today. Thanks for listening. Stay curious. And remember, the other side is always watching.